You are.
Before we begin this evening, I'd like to make a statement that recognizes our neighbors. I would like to recognize that the area we call the Fraser Valley Regional District has been home to Indigenous people for generations. There are 31 communities with reserve lands in the FERD's jurisdiction, and as many as 69 groups with interests in the area. We honor our commitment to collaboration, inclusion, and reconciliation in our work here today, and call to order the December 11th Fraser Valley Regional District Hospital Board meeting.
Looking for approval of the agenda and late items, Chair.
Mover, Director Clute, Director Horn. Those in favor, contrary, carried. Next item, please.
Item 4.1 is the draft Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Board meeting minutes of November 27th, 2025.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Director Facio, Director Lowen. Those in favor, contrary, carried. Next item.
5.1 is the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Provisional Budget Bylaw number 89. There is a motion for your consideration.
Director Horn moved the motion. Seconded Director McElhonick. Discussion. Director Horn.
Thank you. Fully support, obviously, that we're doing this work together, and very encouraged by the positively evolving relationship we have with Fraser Health. And I know a couple of other mayors spoke with Mr. Kelly in the last few days, and he's making the rounds and I think understands the importance of working together. So that's my first comment. My second comment is through the chair to staff. I looked at the numbers here, and we had a quick informal conversation a few weeks ago. I'm just wondering whether or not we might need to, in the coming year or coming months, look at the alignment on the categories around medium and small equipment packages versus the larger capitalization items, based on what's emerging in the request letter and in the capital projections.
Sure. Maybe we'll have our Deputy CFO, Beth Klein, speak to that item.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Horn. Yes, we will be looking at that for the February assumptions memo. Just looking at what we have in our reserves right now and what is coming up, and the ask to build up. So in last year's financial plan, we planned over the 5-year plan to build up to, I believe it was 15 million by 2029 or 2030. And so we'll look at that for the assumptions memo.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments before I go ahead? Director Lund.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had just a question on, so in the provisional budget there, we're going to talk about a funding request that we're going to put into this budget, I assume. And I'm wondering how Fraser Health invoices us for those items that they include in their requests. So do we spend this money out of the provisional budget as the projects are built out? Like they'll come and make the individual request and itemize it, allocate it to the specific projects that they've put in these letters, or do we just give them this lump sum payment upfront? And they kind of allocate them and put them into the projects that they see fit.
Thank you, Director Lund. Ms. Kinnaman?
I'm sure we can just again have Beth Klein respond to that one.
Yep, through the chair, we do a lump sum payment. So this minor medium will go forward and it will go into a bylaw, and we will submit the payment in the spring, and it goes as a lump sum payment.
If I could follow up, Madam Chair.
Yes.
So in the provisional, we're looking at setting aside the full amount of what the requests that we're going to see here shortly. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, can I just ask for clarification on the first question of Director Lum? Because I heard two questions there. The first was, do we give it to them a lump sum? The second part was, do we identify the projects or do they get to spend it as they wish? And maybe Director Lum, I didn't hear you correctly. But my understanding is we do indeed identify the projects that we're willing to assess based on and to fund, and the percentage that we're willing to fund.
Ms. Kinnaman?
Through the chair to Director Horn, just to clarify that. So the bylaw states the amount and it states what the letter is requesting for, as well as our percentage for that amount. We don't have a follow-up after to make sure they've spent the money on it. So we don't do an audit for that, but the request does state what they'll be spending on it.
I think the key point is it's attached to specific asks. The comment that was made is that they can spend it as they wish, but they really are not supposed to. You're right, there's no audit, but they can't just spend it as they wish. We're earmarking money for specific projects.
And if I can just follow up as well, typically 1 or 2 times a year, we've historically had presentations from Fraser Health before the board where they will give updates on how those projects are progressing. And the hope is through this new joint relationship that there will be an even greater focus on prioritizing which projects the board is hoping to fund.
And I apologize if it was confusing, and it's a little bit confusing for me because I know the board has to approve this provisional budget, and then we'll talk about later the funding request. So it's kind of the order I know is a little bit awkward. So if I'm out of order in asking this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So when we as Director Horn kind of clarified, Chair Horn clarified. The thing that confuses me then is I'll see something in a request, a letter from last year, and I'll use the fluoroscopy unit in Chilliwack, and it's identified at a certain amount, and then I see it again this year for an even higher amount, and then I'm assuming that we pay the 40% of that project. So something doesn't make it just doesn't make sense to me. So that's why I was just asking to get some clarity because now I've seen that unit twice, and I see in this list of requests coming up a few things that have existed on past letters, and so I was wondering if these are things that are just ongoing, or how they're communicating and not being a part of the capital working group. I apologize for asking questions. Might be obvious to other people.
Thank you. Ms.
I
Kinnaman?
can clarify a little bit. There's a few things that go on there. One is the way our fiscal years are not aligned. So there are projects that do carry over from one year to the other. The second piece is that theoretically, the hospital district is encouraged to contribute 40%, and we don't produce 40% for these projects. If you add up the total value of these projects, it is more than the funding request. And so this is intended to just give a flavor of the types of projects that are at a high enough level and a high enough priority. I do think that like most organizations, and probably the city of Chilliwack is similar, is that sometimes best intentions, you go forward with a project and things happen. And so they might have to make other priorities and shift those to future years. And so sometimes that's why you might see the same project show up in another year because a more emergent need occurred through their capital plan. So I think that that's the long-winded answer to saying that through this joint process, where we're going to have more detailed and ongoing conversations about the status of these projects throughout the year, I think it will shed a little bit more light on why you see those same projects showing up year over year on the funding request letter.
Yeah, that would be really helpful for me, and it's maybe something that could the joint planning team could be tasked with is as getting us an update and showing us perhaps how much of our 40% is applied to the project, and where it's, how it's being funded. That'll help me feel comfortable approving the funding requests, and it'll help me identify that we're getting a good equitable kind of share across all of our region for everybody who has these kind of important capital needs in their hospitals. And so, I've said this before, but I look forward and welcome the opportunity to see that kind of clarity through this joint project.
Thank you, Director Horn.
Yeah, I want to first say thank you to Director Lund, because I think that gives us a really good thing to go back and actually ask the capital working group to give a really clear idea of what it is in terms of their capital plans. We are going to be asked to help with. What we've communicated to them is that we want the things that we're asking the public to help pay through the hospital district to be things that are a bit juicier, meaning that they're connected to outcomes that people really care about. We don't want to pay for, I always say, wheelchairs and stairwells. We want to pay for things that are moving the needle on access and quality and navigation. They've heard that, but I think that what they could do and what we could do a better job of is saying, hey, here's the list of capital projects that we're being asked to consider. Which ones have a green tick mark beside them that we're agreeing to present to the board as joint projects? The other thing I'll point out is this, and this is why I think this process is a bit confusing. And you'll remember, I think this goes back 2 years where we had a request and we ended up funding at something 28%. And what we said is, let's do a little bit of leveraging here, but at the same time, let's work our way up to having healthy reserves so that if there is a major capital project, we are not being asked to put all of our money in at one time and shock the taxpayer. And let's put the power of compound interest to our benefit as well. So that's part of what we're going to get. I don't think that this money today is all going to something. It's leveraging power for us for the future, and it's an incremental way of making sure we have a healthy bank account for healthcare.
Thank you. Any other questions? Call the question on the first motion. Those in favor? Contrary? Carried. Motion. Sorry.
No, you're correct. Motion number 2.
Move. Do I have a mover? Director Corey. Director Ross. Any further questions? Those in favor? Contrary? Carried. Motion number 3. Move Director Ross, Director Clue. Those in favor? Contrary? That's carried. Next item, please.
So 5.2 is the 2026 annual Fraser Health Authority funding request. There's a motion for your consideration.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Director Facio and Director Dixon. Any questions? Those in favor? Contrary? That's carried.
So moving down to reports from board directors.
Does any director wish to make comments or have a report? Seeing none.
Okay, and now we move to public question period for items relevant to the agenda. And we'll just turn things over to our Deputy Corporate Officer, Lauren Olenek.
Thank you, Ms. Kinnaman. We do have quite a few members of the public joining us online tonight. So this would be your opportunity to ask a question relevant to the hospital agenda. If you have a question, I'd ask that you would just hit the raise hand function. I'll just look to the 2 members of the public joining us in person. It would appear there are no questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next,
Looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Director Facio and Director Barton. Those in favor? Contrary? That is carried. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to recognize that the area we call the Fraser Valley Regional District has been home to Indigenous peoples for generations. There are 31 communities with reserved lands in the FERD's jurisdiction and as many as 69 groups with interest in the area. We honor our commitment to collaboration, inclusion, and reconciliation in our work here today and call to order the December 11th Fraser Valley Regional District Board meeting. Just want to welcome alternate Director Shield and Westering this evening. Thanks for joining us and filling in. Just a couple other things I just want to mention. We've had a really difficult couple of days here in the Fraser Valley, and so I just wanted to send our prayers for those affected by the flooding and some of the difficulties out there. And it's not over yet. We've got more rain on its way. So just a plea for people to please make sure you're prepared. If you go to the Fraser Valley Regional District website, we've got everything you need to know for what you need to get prepared. And it's also a really good source of current information. We're seeing a lot of posts going out there, particularly by Facebook, things that are inaccurate, posts that are being distributed that are like evacuation orders from the 2021 flood. So we just want to make sure that you go to the provincial government website, FERD website, or your city to get the most current up-to-date information for your area. All right. And one more thing, this is very important too. It is the Fraser Valley Regional District's 30th anniversary. I think it's tomorrow, or is it today? Tomorrow. So happy birthday to the Fraser Valley Regional District.
Hey.
And, yeah. And I've been on this board for almost all of those 30 years. And I have to say, for this whole time, one thing that has remained constant is I've always been so very proud to be part of this regional district. We have the most amazing staff and wonderful board members who truly care about their communities and representing them well. So thank you all. All right, on to business. First item, Ms. Kinman, looking for approval of the agenda, and late items.
So moved, Madam Chair.
By Director Fazio, seconded by Director Westering. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item. 4.1 is a delegation for the Hemlock Valley Resort Association bylaws. Welcome. Please come forward. Yeah, if you just want to come to the podium there.
I think they've got a presentation for you.
Yes.
Okay.
I see that. So we've got it up on the screen there.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much for having us. We're very excited to be here. This presentation represents a lot of work from our volunteers and our volunteer committee. And yeah, we're really happy to be here. Am I able to advance it or? Oh, sorry.
No, we lost it.
Okay, let me try it again.
You share your screen. Perfect.
Perfect.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. I thought you were, I was on your screen. Anyways, thank you for having us. So really quickly, what are resort associations? These are very obscure. There are only 4 of these in the province of British Columbia. Tourism Sun Peaks, the Red Resort Association in Rosslyn, Destination Silver Star, and Tourism Whistler. And we are proposing the creation of one in the Hemlock Valley. Why do we want to do this? Because they provide a strong, coordinated voice for all of its members. It becomes a legal entity to access grants and funding for the community improvements, and it allows everyone to really work together. So it allows homeowners, businesses, and the resort operator to work together for mutual benefit to build the community. Why create a resort association? Well, one of the big things is it creates a long-term sustainable funding. So as all of you know who work in nonprofit, this is one of the hardest things for organizations to find. Because we're talking about creation of a nonprofit society, it also makes it eligible for a variety of different grants that can help the community. It's very attractive to investors. We could use some more investment in the Hemlock Valley. It is able also to receive the hotel tax. It provides value-added services to homeowners and businesses, as well as increasing in the value of properties. The idea really is they want to enhance the lifestyle of what's going on within a resort. In addition, it signals intent and commitment to tourism and development to the provincial government, and allows us also to lobby for infrastructure improvements. How do they work? Again, there's very obscure legislation, but it would become a legal entity established under the BC Resort Associations Act. It would become also a registered nonprofit society under the BC Societies Act, and would be registered on title of all of the lots within a designated promotion area. And the map that you have on your screen there, that is what we're proposing to have as the designated promotion area, which is the overall build-out plan for the resort. Homeowners, businesses, resort operators would pay annual fees into a budget that the Resort Association would be able to access matching funding and make community improvements. The fees are established in the bylaws, which makes it very difficult to change them, which provides quite a good level of comfort for the homeowners. And the composition of the board is also set out in the bylaws. In order to create this resort association, we have to get 50% of at least 50% of all of the homeowners to agree, as well as 50% of the assessed value. What can these funds be used for? Well, these funds would be very flexible, which is great for the community. Some of the things that we see in some of these other communities can be used for marketing, for destination management, transportation, creation and maintenance of trails. They can also own or operate facilities that don't necessarily make a profit. Those are things like conference centers, or they can be swimming pools or visitor centers. Events is a really big thing. Events is something that everybody in a community wants, and it's generally hard to find money to put those together. So this provides funding for that. Also things like signage and wayfinding, as well as parks. So why are we coming to yourselves to ask to move really to the next step? So if you agree this evening, then it would allow us to go out and petition all of the homeowners within the area. And so this is where we are right now in the process. If we get the 50%, then it goes through to the province. They create a minister's order, which then creates a set of bylaws, which we're giving to you a copy of. And then the organization becomes a legal entity. We've had a large group of steering committee members that have been working with us on this process, and very varied interests as well. So here's our committee. We've got Ken Housen from the Hemlock Valley Fire Department, Adam Perry, he's a local business owner, Jeff Murphy from the Valley Trail Society, Brad Giddens from the Sasquatch Resort, Jason Vance from the Hemlock Valley Homeowners Association, Terry Pratt from the Barazan Hospitality Group, Angelica Vance from the Hemlock Valley, she's a Hemlock Valley homeowner, Kate Hawley from the Mountain Ski Club, and the Stahelis, who are an important partner, Kelsey Charlie. We've been working on this for pretty much the last year, and we've had a variety of different engagement activities, including in person and online. We've got a little summary of there. We've got a website that we've created, the Hemlock Valley Resort Association, which has all of the information about the proposed organization. And we've been doing e-blasts as well to most of the people in the community. We have also revised the bylaws multiple times based on the input that we have received. So the bylaws that you're seeing today are probably the 25th version as we've worked through this process. Basically, what are we trying to do? We're trying to enhance the quality of life and guide sustainable development that reflects and respects the area's natural beauty and rich history, and protecting the future of the resort area for generations to come. And we've got a little list of some of the things that we would be looking at working on. Community area developments and maintenance, special events, visitor information, signage, advocacy, communications, research, marketing, and sales. Here's a brief summary of what the fee structure would look like for the members. The big thing is that the resort operator would be committed to providing at least 25% of the overall budget. That means my timer's almost up. We've got long-term residential renters or owners would pay less than if you're renting your unit on a short-term basis, because we think you would see more of a benefit. Vacant undeveloped lots would be $100, and we have a variety of commercial fees as well. This is what the board structure would look like. The resort operator would have 2 seats, homeowners would have 4 seats, and the Stehelis would have 1 seat. We would have another additional 2 seats coming online once we have at least 4 commercial members, and then once we have at least 1 non-resort hotel. So why are we trying to do this? Well, we want to have a strong coordinated voice for all of the interests at Hemlock Valley, and the ability to make real change for the benefit of the community, no matter who the resort operator is. It would also allow us to collect the MRDT funding, which would benefit the Hemlock Valley community. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Chair Ross, I believe another member of the delegation did have some additional pieces to add.
Sure, please go ahead.
Hi there. I have a statement from Ralph Bearzan I'll read out. He prepared this for us. It says, regarding Sasquatch Mountain Resort and Hemlock Valley Utilities, first, I apologize for not being able to be here in person. We purchased Sasquatch Mountain Resort and Hemlock Valley Utilities in October of 2006. The winter that followed was very difficult, as over 2 years of maintenance work was needed before we could open. Fortunately, we completed these repairs and honored ski tickets purchased years earlier. Following that, we spent more than 3 years negotiating an agreement with the Stehelis Band. Then we spent an additional 3 to 4 years negotiating a long-term agreement with the province. Hemlock Valley Utilities, which supplies water and sanitation services, is about 50 years old. We are actively working to improve these facilities because expanding them requires better sanitation and water services. We know reliable services are critical to the community and to our operations. Right now, we are actively identifying extensive upgrades to the services, and we commit to keeping the community updated as we move forward. At Sasquatch Mountain Resort, we and the Hemlock Valley Homeowners Association are in the process of forming the Hemlock Resort Association, which is being presented this evening. We envision this association will generate interest in the resort itself, assist the homeowners in the community in creating events and attractions outside the ski hill itself, and help raise awareness of the challenges facing the ski hill. Did you know that we are one of the few ski hills in the province without a paved road? While it may not always seem like it, we genuinely care about this community. Again, I apologize for not being here this evening. Please feel free to contact me directly.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, good evening. My name is Jason Vance, and my family has been a part of Hemlock Valley since 2015. I've served on the Hemlock Valley Homeowners Association board since 2020, 3 of those years as its vice president. I'm also a certified EMA first responder and volunteer firefighter with Hemlock Valley Fire, which means I have a very clear view of how much this community needs stable funding, better coordination, and a stronger voice. Over the past several months, our steering committee has worked closely with the homeowners, the resort operator, and the Stehelis to build what I believe is the most homeowner-focused resort association model in the province. The proposed HVRA gives homeowners majority control on the board of directors, a reliable and predictable income stream, and real influence over how funds are spent and how development is guided. This is a rare, perhaps once in a generation opportunity, and I respectfully ask the FVRD to support the collaboratively drafted bylaws for a Hemlock Valley Resort Association, along with its resort area map, so that the steering committee can move forward to the petition process, which ultimately gives every property owner the power to decide for themselves what our community's future will look like. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any questions of board members? Director McElhaney?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Um, I'm not informed on this, but I'm just wondering, does this affect taxation at all from regular taxation?
No, it does not. So, under the Resort Association legislation, it creates a specific nonprofit society, which then can collect fees from the homeowners, but it is not taxation.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Director Castle?
Thank you, Chair Ross. Just a couple of clarification points. Some points that I heard from the presenters. One, there was a reference to water systems and paved roads. This initiative does not impact water services or paved roads, does it? Like, this money can't be used for that.
No, it does not. So we are not looking at using this funding for infrastructure, but we can help to lobby for assistance with those kind of projects.
Okay, thank you. And then the other point of clarification, there was a comment made about how development is guided. Can somebody explain to me how this association will guide development?
I can answer that one. So as part of the board, all the major stakeholders will be present, interacting and discussing what are our plans, short-term, medium-term, long-term, and how can we make things all work together. Also, directly from the board, any resort association funds spent on projects in the village would be determined by those directors as well.
Okay. When I hear how development is guided, I go into a planning mode mindset, and I just want to make sure, I just want clarity around this won't impact the planning process for the area.
Right. So Sasquatch Mountain Resort is a privately owned company, and the Resort Association is not part of that company. So there's direct influence and there is soft influence, and the Resort Association and its members would have soft influence on decisions that the Barazans or whoever the resort operator is in the future, what their plans might be.
Okay, thank you.
Just so that structure does not presently exist. So right now the homeowners have no voice in how that progress is made, what is the priority, and so on. The Resort Association would create that connection.
All right. Director Lum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, not being fully versed in all of the ins and outs of this, I'm glad that we got a bit of a presentation on this tonight. So the second letter I think shared from Mr. Berzan actually made me think of a couple of questions. So right now the utilities are private, and those utilities are serving more than just the resort, correct? They're serving the homeowners up there in Hemlock as well, correct?
Yes,
I
that is
saw
correct.
this. Okay. And so has there been a kind of an identified like a current state of the union on those utilities and what their current state is? I think I heard in the statement from Mr. Berzan, he said they're well over 50 years old, and so and that they kind of inherited these utilities. I'm assuming that they're not just giving those services away to the homeowners in Hemlock. They're paying some sort of fees to the utility. But what is the current state of those utilities? Because it seemed to the Mr. Berzan's statement seemed to indicate that maybe the state was less than ideal. So does anybody know what the current state of those utilities are?
From my point of view, They're quite aged, obviously. We mentioned that in the letter. They're actively working right now on plans to try and upgrade them as quickly as possible. We have a very strong team in there right now who have a lot of years of experience, and we are putting plans together to try and upgrade them as quickly as possible.
So would those plans, would the idea be that those plans, not just plans, I guess the infrastructure upgrades, would those be executed on prior to the resort association kind of going into full kind of promotion, build a hotel? It looks like there's some pretty substantive work that they'd like to do. Is the idea that the utility upgrades would go in first, and then you'd actually start promoting and doing the stuff, building. I mean, obviously, I think there'd be some. It sounds like there'd be some pretty significant constraints on the utilities right now, so it would make sense to start doing this work and promoting it all, and then not being able to accommodate it or not being able to handle it on the utility side.
Maybe I can answer that one. Utilities really are outside of the scope of what we're looking at with the resort association, but at the same time, we see a resort association working in conjunction with any development. And so as we promote, we might see more investment, or as we build more trails or that kind of thing. So we really see these two things happening hand in hand.
And I'll add to that, if I may, Deanne. Before, I think Director Lum, that you were asking about development up on the ski hill. When will that happen? And to do the expansion as proposed in phase 1 and phase 1A, we really need an upgraded utility system. So that's what's holding it back. It's a bit of a chicken and an egg thing. And so, as Brad was saying, there's planning going on actively right now with this, with our new team in place. And so that will be looked at in the new year, that we're going to really get into that. We've got plans in place that we're looking at now. But as Deanne noted, the Resort Association is a different but related piece of activity up on the hill.
Yeah, I was sort of confused because it seemed like from I think it was Mr. Vance, I couldn't see from here that there was they're kind of celebrating that effort to have a homeowner voice and really represent the homeowners on this. And I'm assuming that's because they too would need to benefit from the proper utilities being in place that they're getting servicing from. So yeah, I'm just for me, I think the risk or the challenge is going to be how you communicate this to all of the homeowners that you have to obtain votes from, and ensure that the resort or the utility can properly service and proportionally service everything that it needs to, and all the obligations that it has to the homeowners up there. Because I think that's probably the biggest concern that I've heard kind of bubble up from this conversation. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Wardenberg, and then Director Facio.
Yeah, I would be happy to speak last on this.
Sure.
I'll hear from the rest of the directors.
Okay.
I'm a little bit more informed on this than most of it in here.
No problem. Director Facio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation. Just some confirmation, the municipal regional district tax, which I believe this is what you're referring to. Now, this is used for promotion, advertising, heads in beds, and I'm not sure if a portion of it can be used for tourism infrastructure. I mean, it's a great idea. As you know, we have it in Harrison Hot Springs with Tourism Harrison, but they're separate from the tax that the village receives. It's a separate identity. So what do you, at the moment, or what do you anticipate your number of beds will come to when it comes to applying for the tax?
Are you asking what number of beds there are currently in the resort that are being rented out?
Yes.
Okay, so currently we've estimated that there are about 100 accommodation units, and we've done that through a survey of what we can see on Airbnb, and they range in variety from 1 bedroom up to 4 bedrooms.
And the other part of the program, as I just said, is for promotion and advertising. And of course, events comes into it, like shown on your promotional list there.
Yeah, exactly. So the MRDT funding can be used specifically for promotion, whereas the Resort Association funds can be used in a much more flexible way towards signage, events, promotion, that kind of thing.
With the committee, would there be a director? Would he or she be paid, or would it just be all volunteers?
I would estimate that looking at, moving this organization down in the future, that they would have paid staff doing a lot of this work.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adamo.
Let's go to that. Thanks very much for your presentation. Couple of things. It's very interesting, this particular one to me where I live. So where does the OCP come into this, the current OCP, or does one even apply to your area? That would be one question. The second one is the purpose just simply to try to obtain grants for infrastructure that will improve the community? I guess my concern is that if a private developer buys something and then, I don't know, runs out of money and doesn't have any money any longer, this is a great way to try to get that. But does that solve anything within your community? It gives you have four voices within your community now. I'm just concerned about where this is coming from all of a sudden. If he's had the organization for 16 years and hasn't been able to succeed from a monetary point of view, now he's going to be asking for the developer, that is, and the community group will be asking for grants in order to fulfill the dream that was established years and years and years ago. So I just have some concerns about all of that. So I'd like you to kind of talk me through that whole process and what the actual governance of development would in fact be. Does the private owner still have all of the regulatory stuff? Is he in control of anything or everything? And does your small voice from a community group have any say in all of that? I might be rambling a bit, but I have some cautionary concerns here, but some very good interest as well.
Deanne, maybe I'll take the first part
Brad,
of that.
looks like you wanted to
then you can
field that
jump
one.
in. Sorry? Yeah,
I was
Deanne,
just
I
saying,
can
Miss
maybe
Pratt,
take
looks
the
like you wanted to answer that one.
first part.
Please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, so there, in terms of the layers of jurisdiction, the Bearazan Group, as Sasquatch Mountain Resort, has a 60-year master development agreement with the province. So there are commitments in that master development agreement for them to develop over time into the 5 phases, and that has not changed and won't change. That development on the mountain has to meet the official community plan that was adopted several years ago. So it's still, any development by the developer is within the confines of those two planning documents. The Resort Association is more around community-based, not even improvements, community-based events that will help develop the quality of life up on the hill, regardless of what's happening at Sasquatch Mountain Resort. So those two planning documents are still absolutely critical, that HVRA would work within the context of those, but on behalf of the homeowners and businesses and resort operator.
Thank you. And if I have a follow-up, Madam Chair.
Sure.
So what is the current population, and what would be the grow out population of that in, say, 15 years from now? What is the actual plan for that mountain resort?
Now, the current population, I don't have off the top of my head, perhaps Jason will, but the plan over the next it's all time bound. It's not time bound per se, but it's all depends on markets and investment. And certainly, like I was saying earlier, it is a chicken and an egg thing. So there now is a real focus on upgrading these utility infrastructures right now, so that part of those plans can start moving forward.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Director Fazio, your raised hand is still up. Was that from before? Or did you have another question?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I'm finished.
Yeah, thanks. All right. No one else before we... Yeah, Director, sorry, over here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. It's just identifying seat 11. So that would be you, Director Shields. Please go ahead.
I've been called worse, so that's okay. Just this fairly early in the process. So the ask right now is not anything that's too great. And then going forward, you know, I can't really read into this, and I don't even know who can answer this question, but does the FVRD really have any oversight on this organization? You know, other than this meeting, is the FVRD actually involved in anything?
Ms. Kinnaman?
Sure. We can turn that over to our manager of planning, Caitlin Hipwell, or if the delegation wanted to speak on that as well, that would be fine.
Through the chair to the director, the Resort Association would operate as an independent nonprofit association, and there would be no oversight from the FVRD in terms of how they operate or administer their levies. And the process in its entirety is approved by the ministry. And so the FVRD's role in the process is really early in the process and kind of serves as a preliminary vetting of the proposed bylaws and the proposed promotion area in order for it to proceed further along in the process and eventually the approval of the minister.
Okay, just kind of a step that the province is requiring, and then I see they're looking for some help with the mail outs. So
correct.
Reimbursed. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other speakers before we move to Director Warrenberg? Look like it. Director Warrenberg.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for all the comments from the directors. I think they've been covered mostly in all the presentations that I've heard from this association. I've heard from many different residents of Hemlock Valley, and I've been part of but I've overseen or looked into the website shows all the public hearings and public meetings as it went through. So there's been a lot of public participation in this to this point. So right now, thank you for the presentation, but I think I'll move the motion right now and then speak to it if I get a seconder on that.
Sure. Director Warrenberg, second Director Westray. Okay, go ahead, Director Warrenberg.
So a couple questions. As our director of planning has said, our role in this is basically the step is just to move it on to the petition phase, and that's what we're voting on right now. That is going to be basically the phase where the residents of Hemlock Valley will have their choice, or they can choose whether they want it or not. So I'm in favor of that. So the motion, I just have one question as far as the legal letter, and it mentions the petition, and it also mentions that the petition has to be the sufficiency and validity has to be determined by the corporate officer. And I'm just looking for some clarity as far as who's the corporate officer who will be doing that sort of thing in this situation with this resort association.
Yeah, we'll just go back to Ms. Hepwell, please.
Through the chair to Director Wardenberg, the proponent will be utilizing a third party, so a corporate officer consultant, in order to validate the petition and provide that proof to the minister as part of the approval process. The FVRD will not have a role in validating the petition. We will only be providing support insofar as address labels for the mail out.
And one other question, just through to staff. So you can give assurances that there's no liability to the regional district for through this association in any future dealing?
I may jump in through the chair. Staff are not in a position to provide legal advice about liability, but as far as our purview goes, we don't see much opportunity for liability flowing to the regional district from the role you have in approving bylaws and the boundaries of the resort area.
One other follow-up, and the petition, once it's done, does that end our role in it? What is our role for this?
The process set out in the Resort Association Act requires the regional board to approve the bylaws and the map, the Resort Association map. After that, the process proceeds independent of us, except for the assistance that we provide around mail-out labels. But I believe in the future, should the Resort Association amend their bylaws, they may come back to the regional board for review again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, doesn't look like there's any other speakers, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
Thank you. So moving to item 5.1, we have the draft Fraser Valley Regional District Board meeting minutes of November 27th, 2025.
Do we have a mover? Director Dixon, seconded by Director Pranger. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
Items 6.1 through 6.4 are committee minutes for information and matters arising. Happy to separate any of those information items.
Any questions or comments on those? Doesn't look like it. Next item, please.
7.1 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1728 and Fraser Valley Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1791.
There are 4 motions here. Director, who do we have a mover? Director Dixon, second by Director Clute.
It's just EAs only, Chair.
Oh, sorry. That's highlighted in yellow and I still missed that. Sorry.
All good.
Sorry, seconded by Director McConaughey. Thank you. All right, I don't see any questions or comments, so all in favor of motion number 1? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Motion number 2. Moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Wardenberg. All in favor? Motion carried. Motion number 3. Sorry, who was that? McConaughey, Director Dixon. All in favor? Motion's carried. And number 4. Director Adamo, you had your hand up earlier, so I'll call on you. Do a seconder. Director Johnson, all in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
7.2 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Popcom West Storm Drainage Local Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1806.
Have a mover? Director Dickey, seconded by, I think, is this EAs only? No, this isn't. Director Clute. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
7.3 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Popcom Storm Drainage Service Area Merger and Establishment Bylaw number 1789.
Moved by Director Dickey, seconded by Director Westering. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
7.4 is Fraser Valley Regional District Electoral Area D Integrated Water System Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1804.
Moved by Director Dickey. You've been busy lately. Do you have a seconder? Director McConaughey. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
And again in item D, 7.5, which is Fraser Valley Regional District Popcom Street Lighting Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 1805.
You might as well finish this series off, Director Dickey. Moved and seconded by Director Shields. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
7.6 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1807 to revise definitions for farm uses.
Do we have a mover? Director Castle, seconded by Director Dixon. See any comments? All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item. Oh, that was first one. We have a second one. Do we have a mover? Director Dixon, seconded by Director McConaughey. All in favor? Unopposed, motion's carried. Next item.
7.7 is Fraser Valley Regional District Bylaw Offense Notice Enforcement Amendment Bylaw number 1808. There are 3 motions.
You have a mover? Moved by Director Lowen, seconded by Director Bartman. All in favor? Unopposed, motion's carried. Motion number 2.
Number 2, Madam Chair.
Director Facio, seconded by Director Shahal. All in favor? Motion's carried. Motion number 3. Moved by Director Horn, seconded by Director Clute. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
7.8 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Elmer Carlson Pool Fees and Other Charges Amendment Bylaw number 1809 and Fraser Valley Regional District Hope and District Recreation Center Fees and Other Charges Amendment Bylaw number 1810.
There are 6 motions on this one, I believe. Okay. So do we have a mover?
So moved, Director Adamo.
And second by Director Damo. All in favor? Oh, sorry, Director Bartman, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just a little confused. Maybe it hasn't been explained. Why is the Fraser Valley Regional District setting the fees in Hope for the recreation?
Ms. Kinnaman?
Through the chair to Director Barkman, the Fraser Valley Regional District operates the Hope Recreation Center.
Okay, all in favor of the motion? None opposed, motion's carried. Motion number 2. Moved by Director Gill, second by Director Johnson. All in favor? Motion's carried. Motion number 3, Director Adamo, seconded by Director Castle. All in favor? Motion's carried. Motion number 4, Director Smith, you had your hand up earlier, so all right. Do you have a seconder? Director Dreesen, all in favor? Motion's carried. Where are we? Number 5?
Move motion number 5, Madam Chair.
Director Facio, I'm getting lost already. Second, Director Shahal, all in favor? Motion's carried. And number 6, Director Lowen, seconded by Director Dixon, all in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Keeping you on your toes tonight.
Yeah.
Item 7.9 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Better River Campground Amendment Bylaw number 1811. There are 3 motions, and just noting that it's all except Abbotsford.
Moved by Director Clute, seconded by Director Westering. Don't see any questions. All in favor? Oh,
Director
sorry,
Barkman
Director Barkman. You got to be quick on the draw here, man.
In the conclusion part, it states that the additional revenues and it's going to go to infrastructure. Is that something that goes into reserve? If I'm looking at some of these prices, it goes from 45 to 47, $2, which doesn't seem like a lot of money. So is this something that goes in general revenue, or does it go to a specific project?
We'll just turn this one over to Stacey Barker to respond to.
Thank you for the question. All fees, even if they're small at the Better River Campground, can certainly add up to a significant quantity of money at the end of the year due to the number of campsites we are booking throughout the year, thousands of bookings. And so it can certainly add up. And there are additional infrastructure upgrades that need to be done, particularly the septic system that we're operating there. And so we're hoping any additional fees that can be gained with all revenue, not just with this, can be prioritized to make those improvements.
Thank you.
All right, now all in favor of the motion? And none opposed. Motion's carried. Motion number 2. Moved by Director Horn. All right, moved by Director Lum, second by Director Horn. All in favor? Motion's carried. And number 3.
Move motion number 3, Madam Chair.
Moved by Director Facio, seconded by Director Castle. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next item.
8.1 is the Fraser Valley Amateur Radio Emergency Services Society Communication Tower Site License Agreement.
Moved by Director Castle, second Director Horn. Seeing no questions, all in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
9.1 is the Fraser Valley Regional District Parks and Trails 2050 Plan, and we have a presentation this evening.
Right, please go ahead.
Good evening. I guess this is my turn to talk. So thanks for having us. Just a quick introduction. My name is Derek Berg. I'm a senior research manager with Prairie Research Associates, and I'm joined by my colleague Taylor Thorkelson. So we're the research vendor that ran this year's regional and community parks and trails visitor survey. So I'm just going to share my screen and pull up the presentation. Good. So just to start off, just a quick background on kind of the methodology for this. There were three methods in terms of how people were invited to participate in the survey. One in the primary method was in person at regional parks and trails. We had interviewers basically set up in person to invite people to complete the surveys on the spot. There were also online, the survey was available online through an open link that was either accessed through handouts from the survey interviewers for people that didn't want to complete the survey on the spot, or also through the FVRD website and social media promotions. And there was also a open link online version of the survey that was accessed through mailed letters to community residences. So for the in-person survey, we conducted the survey at 14 different regional parks and trails. The only one that was left off was Kettle Valley. But that was it was part of the open link survey. People could choose which parks or trails they wanted to give their feedback on. Just wasn't part of the in-person intercept method. So we had interviewers on site from August and September with a number of visits to each site, making sure there's a mix of weekend and weekday visits just to ensure, as well as morning and afternoon shifts, just to ensure a good diversity of those that were invited to participate. And we ended up with over 1,000 completed surveys in that method. Through the open link online version that was mailed to residents, was mailed to about 1,000 residences in the Fraser Valley area, and that resulted in 59 completed surveys. And then we also had the open link available just through that handout or on social media, and that resulted in another 110 completed surveys, mostly for regional parks and trails, but also about 30 for people giving their feedback on the community parks.
Derek, before you go on, I think you might be in the wrong view.
Oh, is this showing my...
Just so it's full screen.
Is that better?
That's better.
Thank you. All right. So the first question here was asking people whether they were actually aware that the Fraser Valley Regional District manages these regional and community parks and trails. So you have about just over half of regional park visitors who are aware that the FRD manages the parks, and quite a bit more, about 84% for community parks and trails. This is so it makes sense to me that the community parks, this is higher for them, just simply with the method that people were invited to participate in this, just because the regional parks were more randomized, and kind of interviewers were there inviting actual visitors to the park, so they may not have been as familiar, whereas the community park survey participants were more people who sought the open link and basically have a more vested interest in the community parks and trails and may be more likely to actually be regular users of the park. So therefore, more familiar with them and who they're managed by. We asked people what their primary reason for visiting the parks and trails was. For regional parks and trails, kind of the main priorities for people, a lot say just to simply appreciate nature. For physical activity or fitness, it sounded like just through our interviewers, a lot of people were obviously there to use the trails, go for a walk or hike, walk the dog kind of thing. And then also 33% of regional park visitors said it was to spend time with their family or friends. Community parks and trails visitors, 62%, so the highest proportion, are saying that it's the convenient location. Again, I think that comes down to the people that were more likely to participate in these. These are probably, again, community members that live close by to a community park, therefore more likely to say that this is they come here all the time. It's a convenient location. And then about half saying for either physical activity or fitness, or again to appreciate nature. Or 44% also saying walk the dog or pet exercises, which also likely comes down to that convenient location. This asked if whether or not people brought dogs to the park or trail. So just under 1/3 of regional park visitors had brought a dog, compared to about half of community parks and trails visitors. One thing that I thought just was interesting with this is just on the last slide, we have the proportion who say their primary reason for coming to the park was to walk their dog or for pet exercise. So it was much lower on kind of the reasons for visiting, yet we have kind of a higher proportion of people who did bring dogs, even though they said it wasn't their primary reason. Kind of just tells me that it might not be the primary motive that people are wanting to go to the parks or trails, but it's certainly kind of a big factor in what people are doing at the trails. And then similarly asked if people brought their children to the parks or trails. And here we have, it's about 1/5 of people who come to, likely spend time with their family and enjoy the park with their children, and about 1/3 of community park and trail visitors. So for importance of the services or the facilities that they have available to them at the regional parks. For the regional parks and trails, it was the trails themselves that are kind of the most important things that people see, which makes sense given that there was a pretty high proportion of people who said they're there for physical activity. Washrooms were also a big factor for what they find important, as well as parking. And then for community parks and trails, again, the trails themselves are kind of the biggest thing for them. There's also a significant proportion here saying having garbage and recycling bins available. Obviously, they want to keep the parks clean, so that was a big factor for people as well. One of the key differences when we were looking at demographic differences is, and not really surprising to me, is that women are more likely to raise the importance of having washrooms, whether that's the cleanliness or the availability of washrooms. So that was a big factor when looking at just some of the key differences there. Just another noticeable difference, of course, those who are 60 years and older, so the older folks that are using the parks, they're more likely to say that benches or just seating areas are one of the more important things to them at these parks and trails, whether it's in the general kind of area or along some of the walking trails. So this just looks at satisfaction with the facilities and services available to them. So this is just looking at regional park and trail visitors. Just one thing to note is that this question was each of these aspects were only asked when people were visiting a park or trail that actually had these types of facilities or services available. So kind of you'll see the asterisk here on playground equipment, drinking fountains, bike racks, and that's just simply because it's a much smaller proportion of people who are asked this question simply because they're not available at all of the parks or not very many of the parks that we surveyed at. But nonetheless, for those sites that it was available, playground equipment was pretty high on satisfaction. Obviously, there were quite a few people that brought their kids, so that was of course something that those with families enjoyed taking part in. And the trails themselves also something that kind of had a very high satisfaction rating with. And as you'll see on the next slide, what we did is a quadrant analysis on this. So this basically looks at the relativity between what people find or what people say is the most important to them and looks in relation to what they had the highest satisfaction in. So this top right quadrant is your area where basically there's a good job in providing people what it is they find important. There's high satisfaction for things that are of high importance, so the trails themselves, and parking tends to be something with it's higher importance, but a little bit more than average satisfaction. So parking is kind of one of the areas where it might be worth a look at improving overall visitor satisfaction. But the key area here, as we saw, is very high importance for people is the washrooms. This is the area where you see almost the highest level of importance, but in terms of satisfaction, it ranks the lowest. So yeah, if you were to point to one item to say, this is where there should be some focus to improve general park satisfaction and usability, it's washrooms would be the item for that. And so just coming back to the fact that the satisfaction question was only asked of people that were at the sites that had this available. So if there was a washroom available, they were asked about their satisfaction with it. This doesn't account for people who said washrooms are also important to them, but they didn't get the chance to answer about satisfaction because it simply didn't exist at the park they were at. And one of the things that we saw in some open-ended comments that people left at the end of the survey was them asking for washrooms. So even though this already shows that there's kind of a lower level of satisfaction there, the comments that we see at the end of the survey also tell us that this is even more important than what it is that we're seeing in this quadrant analysis. Okay, and this is just a similar look at satisfaction, just looking at community parks and trails. So picnic tables were kind of basically the highest for this, but again, this is only looking at this is only available at a few of the different parks and trails for community parks. So kind of these are, I guess, to be taken a little bit with a grain of salt, just because we are dealing with much lower sample sizes here. Yeah, this just gives you a little bit of a look at what's most important. Aren't able to do the quadrant analysis on this again, just because of the low sample size in comparison to the regional parks. And this looks at just general overall satisfaction with people's visits. Overall, you'll see that there's very high levels of satisfaction. Even though we talked about those areas where there could be improvement, generally people are happy with the parks and trails. You've got at regional parks about half who are saying they're very, very satisfied. And only just a very, very small percentage of people who say they're either, somewhat or very dissatisfied. And same idea with the community parks and trails. You have basically, 3/4 of people who say that they're either very or somewhat satisfied. There was a follow-up to ask, what for those that the few people that said that they were dissatisfied, there was a follow-up on this. And again, a lot of the comments come down to what was shown in that quadrant analysis, simply just things like washrooms and like the cleanliness of washrooms was the thing that came up the most probably, um, and yeah, issues with just the state of the trail or needing more areas for seating or tables. This asked safety, how people, if they felt safe or unsafe during their visit to the parks or trails. Again, you have a very high proportion of those who saying they're either very safe or at least somewhat safe. So safety clearly not a huge concern at all. Wouldn't even be able to fit numbers for the proportion that say they felt very unsafe or unsafe here. A little bit higher for community park and trail members, but still a very low proportion. Similarly, we asked a follow-up on this for the few people that said they did feel unsafe. Most of the comments for this came down to talking about the condition of the trails, things like it was too rocky or too narrow or steep, something like that, just kind of general walkability of the trail. And then some people talked about, I guess, just the uneasiness of the potential for wildlife. Just quite a few. The comments that were there mostly talked about bear safety with that, and that was kind of consistent for both regional and community parks. This just shows a quick look at kind of the length of time people spent at either of the regional or community parks. Generally, people are spending when they're visiting regional parks, they're spending a lot more time there. Generally, at least an hour. You have this greatest proportion that are in that 1 to 2 hour range, but then quite a few as well. They're spending 2 or even 3 hours. There again, I think that comes down to a lot of people using just the trails and going for lawn walks along those. And community park members, much more in that less than 30 minutes or 30 minutes to an hour. Again, that's most likely comes down to who's responding to this survey. It's usually people who are living closer to an area, so they kind of have the ability to just kind of pop in and out for a quick visit because it's close to home. This just looks at the kind of the seasonality of when people prefer to visit. Don't think there's any real surprises here in terms of how people are visiting the parks. Spring and summer, you're seeing a lot more people saying they're visiting multiple times a week or at least once a week, and that kind of drops down into fall and then even more into winter. And community parks, same idea. You've got a lot of people using it in the summer, less in the spring, drops down to fall, and then drops down more into winter. But for those community park visitors, again, likely comes down to who's answering the survey, but a lot of respondents here are visiting the community parks and trails at least once a week, pretty much the majority of them visiting multiple times a week. And that's pretty much no matter the season. So for people who for any of the seasons said that they didn't visit very often. if they didn't come like at least once a week, they are asked, why don't you visit more often? Um, Not surprising is busy schedule is people's number one answer to that, which is, you know, that's kind of typical of anything. People have busy schedules, and it's not necessarily the priority for them to visit, especially if it's colder. As you'll see, 38% said weather conditions are kind of the primary reason that they wouldn't visit more often. And then same idea with community parks and trails. Weather conditions is just people's main reason for not wanting to visit in fall or winter. Okay. And so that was a very quick look at the results of the survey. I understand that I believe the full report has been circulated, but yeah, I'm happy if there are any questions. I'm happy to answer those here today. Otherwise, I'm also we're around, and we're happy to answer any other questions that come up after the fact.
All right, thank you very much. That's very informative and helpful for us to plan. I believe Director Adamo has a question.
Thanks very much. Thanks for your presentation. Through the chair, a couple of things came up. So when you were doing the survey and you were doing the in-person surveys, the 2 days in August, the 2 days in September, and you said some people just said no. How many people actually were approached that said no, we didn't want to take the survey? That would be one, and then I'll just kind of list them all. When we're talking about washrooms, because that came up as a significant priority of interest. Did anybody say what types of washrooms, or was that explored? Is it just a porta potty? Is it something with running water? Did they want pit toilets or outhouses? Did that make a difference? And then if they were approached further, would having a washroom create a higher frequency of usage for the park, or would it create, or additionally, would it also create a longer time frame that they stayed in the park for using it? That's all I have for now. Thanks very much for your presentation.
Okay, good. Yeah, those are good questions. So the first question just about people being approached. So we didn't have an exact count on this. I think it wasn't really something that our interviewers were set up or asked to do to get an actual response rate, but we did get kind of a general response rate from them each day to kind of say, how many people did you encounter today? And then we obviously had the count of how many completed surveys they have. I would say just based on a rough estimate, it was um, probably about maybe 3/4 of people who actually did participate in the survey when asked. A lot of the times when we had lower numbers, it was simply because it just tended to be less busy at the park that day, not because people were not wanting to participate. So I think the response rate was generally high, and I think that's typical with an intercept survey like this. Your second question with the washrooms, sorry, so it was about the type of washrooms?
Yes.
Yeah, so when we were looking at the open-ended comments, I didn't see anything that specified that. It was just a general, like, people saying like the washroom was dirty, just improve the cleanliness of the washroom, like very, very general comments like that. So with the actual verbatim comments, I wouldn't be able to say. What we would be able to do is if we knew exactly which parks had like what kind of washrooms, we have the data for each specific site that we could look at to say was satisfaction with the washrooms higher at this specific park that has this type of washroom versus this that has this. The only issue with that is once you get into more when you get more granular like that, looking at individual sites, obviously you have a much lower sample size, so your kind of the reliability of the data drops a little bit, like your confidence in the data when you're looking at smaller groups like that. But I mean that if that's of interest, that's certainly something we could dig deeper into and give some analysis for that. I think for us it would just be knowing which parks specifically we're looking at. Um, and then yeah, as far as the impact that would have, that's tough to answer. Like I don't know. It's just given the importance that people tended to place on it. I would suggest that it probably does make a difference. I don't know if it makes a difference in terms of the likeliness for someone to visit just because they know a washroom exists there or does not exist. But I think in terms of upkeep and the cleanliness of washrooms, that probably is a driving factor for someone who's willing to stay a bit longer. Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of just my feelings on that. We don't have any kind of concrete evidence within the survey results to say, one way or the other. That's kind of my feelings on that.
Thank you. And just one little follow-up, but this will be more to staff, if I may. In terms of a bathroom or a washroom facility in a park, and this can come up at a later time privately, but just what kind of cost would it be, and what would be a tax implication to an area specifically for having washrooms within a park? Just to try to do some justification if it would create more usability and a better experience for everyone. That's all. So that can be for another time. But thank you very much.
Director Horn.
Yes, this is probably more feedback, and I'm eager for us to be able to get on in the meeting, so I'll just deliver it as feedback. And I don't know if it's for staff next time we put out the call for this work to be done or to the folks presenting. But for me, the value in something like this is, first of all, a distillation into recommendations. The data as presented here is copious, but doesn't give clear direction. And I think it's beneficial to do that. The most important piece of data is not been called for here. And that is, how do we attract not yet customers? How do we get the people who are not yet using our parks? I have a theory, for example, that if around this table I asked everybody to name the 14 trails and parks that are owned and boat launches that are owned by the FBRD, most of us would fail. And that's us. So I think that the community probably doesn't use some of our facilities just because they don't know they can go to Area G and have a picnic, or go to Nielsen Park in Mission, or to Heritage Park. My point being, the next time we do this, I think it's incredibly important for us to take that intercept survey approach and go to a local mall or liquor store or 7-Eleven and talk to people in the area and ask them if they use the parks, and if not, why? What don't they know about them? It's not terribly meaningful to me that they know that the FBRD runs a park versus the city of Mission. I just want to know if they know what the heck the park is and where to go to it.
Yeah, and I would just say to that that it's a very good point. I think the primary reason for conducting this survey was, as a general satisfaction survey of those who actually visit the parks. But no, you're exactly right that what the survey does not do is capture the responses of people who aren't using the parks. There was the letter sent out to 1,000 community members to invite them to participate, but those who it was just kind of an open invitation, those who don't really use the parks or have any interest in them are probably not likely to want to answer the survey. And even if they did, the questions here relate to when they did visit the parks, how was their experience, kind of thing. So no, you're right that that's certainly yeah, if you were to explore that and want information for the reason why people aren't visiting the parks, there are definitely different methods you'd have to go through to get that feedback.
All right, thank you. I think we need to move on. Evening's getting late. Thank you very much for your time and your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. And like we said, we're around. So if there are any other questions that come from this, we can certainly look into things and provide some answers that way.
Thank
But
you.
thank you very much for having us.
Next item, Ms. Kinnaman.
9.2 is the Emergency Management and Climate Readiness Financial Guidelines Update. This is an information item, but happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Director Fazio, do you have a question? See your hand raised.
Sorry, Madam Chair, my hand was raised earlier on, but I lowered it. I just wanted to ask a question, but I'll leave it for now on the previous speaker.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed
No
that.
worries. No worries. Maybe I'll make a comment at my director's report.
Okay. That sounds good. All right. Anyone else? Does it look like it? Next item, please.
9.3 is the BC Air Access Program funding application. There is a motion for your consideration.
Moved by Director Pranger, seconded by Director Adama. All in favor? And opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
9.4 is the provincial review of ECOM and emergency communications model. There's a motion for your consideration.
Moved by Director Horn, seconded by Director Dreesen. No comments or questions? All in favor?
Sorry, no, I will quickly comment.
Okay, Director Horn.
Just noted yesterday, I think it was yesterday from UBCM, the advocacy essentially for an overhaul or an audit at the entire system. And I just really think we need to stay alive to this issue. It seems to me to be one of these models where the fiscal control of it has been let to go for far too long. So I think this is timely, and our government intergovernmental committee needs to be really alive to this.
Agreed. Thank you. All right. Next item.
Did we vote on that one?
Did we vote? I thought we did. No. No. All in favor? None opposed. Motion's carried. Next item.
9.5 is the small scale multi-unit housing implementation and servicing review.
We have a mover over here. Director Westring and Director Shields. See any questions? All in favor? None opposed. Motion's carried. Next item.
9.6 is Stewards Logistics Inc. Towers Telecommunication Tower Referral at 43241 Vetter Mountain Road in Electoral Area H.
Moved by Director Dixon. Do we have a seconder? Director Clute. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
9.7 is Official Community Plan and Zoning Amendment Application at 43940 Frost Road in Electoral Area H.
Moved by Director Dixon again, seconded by Director McCahonick. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
Next, we have our consent agenda, which is items 10.1 through 10.9, and these are resolutions that are brought forward from the December 2nd, 2025 EASC Committee of the Whole.
All right. Do we have a mover? Moved by Director Lowen, seconded by Director Dickey. Did you wish to speak, Director Dickey?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was wondering if I could speak to budget 447 under item 10.8.
10.8. All right. Did you want to separate that out or just speak to it?
Yeah, either is fine. Yeah. I'll just speak to it.
Okay, sure. That's fine.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that there's some confusion around the numbers that apply to the sewer system in Popcom, and that hasn't been determined yet. So prior to that going to a public consultation, if it could be brought to me, so I'd have some input.
Great. Thank you. Yep. Sorry, do we have any?
If I could just get some clarification, Chair Ross, is Director Dickey asking to refer this item and not move it this evening and refer it back to the Committee of the Whole, or?
The concern is that at this point that this not be considered to be a done deal, that there's still an opportunity for some input because I'm not getting one set of numbers as to what it's going to cost the users for the following year.
So would you like to refer it back to staff then?
That would be fine. I'll refer it back to staff.
Right, we need a motion for that.
Seconder. So you need a seconder for that, Chair.
Do we have a seconder? Director McConick? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. All right, now back to the remaining items, I believe.
That's right.
All in favor? None opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
Okay, so moving down to item 12, which is items for information. Happy to separate any of those for discussion. Anyone?
Doesn't look like it. Next item.
And section 13, which is items for correspondence. Also happy to separate any of those letters.
Anyone? Nope, doesn't look like it. Next item.
Okay, so now moving to reports by board directors.
Director Facio, did you wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just going back to Director Horn's comments on the information for residents for the parks, it may be an idea if all our communities could receive a list of all the parks and trails, and we could put them on our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Facio. I guess we'll just take that under advisement for a suggestion. Thank you. Director Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to give a huge thank you to everyone who donated to Stuff the Cruiser. We raised $2,300 and collected 200 pounds of food. All of this goes directly to our local food bank. And also a huge thank you to Kathy Mons and all the volunteers that worked really hard to make this such a big success. And I just have to say, I am really proud of how giving our little community is. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Johnson. Dr. Horn.
Yes, I had some sad news this morning as I sat in a meeting with the Director of Mission Community Services, which operates our Christmas Bureau, and letting us know that the numbers this year of families registering for hampers and gifts is up by about 25% year over year. And so I just wanted to take this opportunity not only to wish a Merry Christmas to all of my colleagues and the staff here, but just to remind everybody to give whatever you can this year. People are having hard times in our communities, and the need has never been greater.
Thank you. It's a very good reminder. Thank you, Director Horn. Director McConick.
Thank you. I kind of let 9.2 slip by me without a thank you, and I just wanted to thank Miss Trina College for the report. I thought it was really well done, and sometimes I think everybody's so busy that thanks aren't given. So I just really appreciated that, and I appreciate all the hard work that goes into it. So thank you. And I think, I just want to thank all of the staff and our fire department and my neighbors, everybody that came together last night. It was pretty crazy in the valley, and people really stepped up and helped each other. And I'm pretty tired tonight, but I'm really happy that everyone's safe, as far as I know. And that included, I guess, 5 people and 4 dogs, and I believe they were unhoused and they got stranded on a bit of an island and were rescued by search and rescue by helicopter at midnight. So it's a lot of things going on, and I drove around and talked to people today in the community, and after we got our place pretty much cleaned up. It's going to take a while, but yeah, people I think really appreciate feeling that they're supported. So, and I want to thank also our fire department, Further Food Drive, and echo Director Horn's sentiments. People are really struggling, and think it is really important for those that can to share. Even a little bit can make a big difference. So with that, I'd like to wish everyone here the best of the holidays, and thank you for all the support over the last year and especially the last couple days. Thank you.
Anyone else? Director Dixon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do wish everyone a Merry Christmas and have a great holiday, but I also want to thank Director Facio because I did get to spend a couple nights in Harrison with a friend just recently, and he put all these Christmas lights out for me, and there was a fabulous display out there, and the wind blew them over once or twice, and somebody stood them up, but it was beautiful, and we felt very welcome, and just a great place to hang out for a bit. So thank you for that, Director Facio. If you're looking for something to do this Saturday, we've got Christmas in Columbia Valley, 2:30 to 4. With Santa arriving at 3. Hopefully the rain holds off as well. And I do want to thank, I know staff were out in my area today making sure that the dikes were in good shape. And thank you for doing that. I know that water was rather angry, and all the work that was done in digging out Frost Creek, I think, has been undone. But it was a good thing it happened, that it was done, I think, this fall. So thanks for your great work on that. And that's it for me.
Thank you. So who's Director Dummel?
Oh, thanks very much. I come off of mute. Yes, I did. I just wanted to do a special thanks to all of our rural fire departments, our volunteer fire departments, those in the Yale area and the Sunshine Valley that worked around the clock last night, taking care of the 15 plus flooded homes in our community. So I just wanted to thank them. They're still going. They haven't had a break now for a few days. And I know Director Smith is going through the same thing with his entire team and his entire district in Hope. So keep up the good work, and whatever we can do to help, just let us know. And I wanted to thank the staff for keeping us so well informed on everything this time. The last time was good. This time was even better. It's great communication with everyone. So thanks very much to CAO Kennerman and the entire team. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are well said. And I too would like to add my thanks to the many staff. I mean, it's still going to be a few long days ahead, but they've been out there working really hard, checking things, making sure people are safe and well informed. So I appreciate it. And from myself, I would just like to wish a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the whole board. And thank you so much for all of your hard work all year, as well as to staff, of course, our amazing staff that worked so hard all year. I appreciate all of you and hope you have a wonderful holiday. Is there anyone else? It doesn't look like it. All right, Director Facio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Dixon, for those kind words. Yes, do try and come out to Harrison. The lights are beautiful. And Fridays and Saturdays during December, we do have in certain areas in Harrison and Agassiz, the blue collection box where we're collecting the money that will all go towards the community services food bank to help those people who are in need this year. I would also like to wish all our emergency services, our healthcare workers, a very safe and happy Christmas. And to my colleagues, board of directors, chair, thank you very much for another great year working with you. It's always been exciting to work with you people. And of course, to our fabulous A-team staff, well, I wish them all, thank you very much for all the help that you give us and put up with us for all these hours and days and months during the course of the year. You're a wonderful group, and it's a pleasure working with all of you. So Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and a healthy and safe New Year, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Facio. All right, next item.
So next is public question period for items relevant to the agenda. We'll just turn things over to Lauren Olenek.
Thank you. We do have about 10 members of the public still joining us online. So this would be your opportunity to ask a question relevant to an item on the agenda. If you have a question, I'll just ask that you hit the raise hand function. And while we give them a minute, I'll note that we have received 2 questions, and I'm just going to go ahead and read those out, and then we'll have staff answer those. So the first question is from Kendra Von Hahn. What has the FBRD done to cross-check that the bylaws presented are in accordance and meet the requirements as set out in the Societies Act and Resort Associations Act? And this is for item 4.1 on the agenda. So we'll just turn it over to Caitlin Hipwell.
Okay. Thank you for the question. The Resort Associations Act is quite vague in terms of the level of scrutiny required on the part of the FBRD board before approving proposed bylaws and the resort promotion area. So the the FBRD board has requested that the proponent provide a professional assurance confirming that the bylaws do meet the requirements as set out in the Resort Associations Act and the Societies Act. And the proponent has supplied that and it is appended to the agenda this evening.
Thank you. Next question.
Question number 2, also from Kendra in relation to item 4.1, is are there any pending permit applications put in by Sasquatch Mountain Resort or affiliated companies, recently approved or declined permits?
Staff weren't able to compile the information in order to adequately answer that question this evening. But my suggestion would be that if there are questions regarding specific permit applications, that a request could be submitted to the general planning email, planning@ferd.ca, and staff could further understand the information that's being sought and determine whether or not the information can be provided through routine release or perhaps other means.
Thank you. Right. Anyone else online raising their hand?
No, there are no questions online.
Good to go. All right. Next item, I think.
Okay, so we can look for a resolution to close the meeting.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Moved by Director Facio, second Director Dreesen. All in favor? Motion's carried.
Okay, we can just take a 3 or 4 minute recess.